Hi, I'm Sabina Armbruster and I am here with Christine Williams. Christine is a writer. Christine, my first question to you this morning is, you help people write their story. Now, for me, it seems very intimidating to write my life story. I don't even know where to start. Like, it's a huge project. And I have tried before, but I've stopped. So I've not gone any further. What do I do?
Okay, so what you should do is jump on board with us. We've got a program called My Life Project, My Life Story Project. My goodness, get the name right. My Life Story Project. And it's a series of webinars, and I guide you, I kind of technologically hold your hand to get through, yes, a full life story. So it's 8 webinars, a series, and it's not too much to bite off, in one chunk. You just take it step by step. And you can do it in 8 weeks, or you can even do it in 8 days, because it's very well programmed and you get support the whole time from the webinars.
So, what would make me actually take that step? Because, I would think about it and then I go, no, look, my life really isn't worthwhile reading about. What would make me take the next step? Because, that was one of the things we spoke about earlier, is that, people get stopped.
Yes. Well, the worst thing is to think your life is not worth it. Your life, every life has a story, a very significant story. And yours certainly does. I know that because I've been working in this field for decades. And the idea that, oh no, mine was only a little life. I mean, every life has challenges and it has triumphs. And the important thing is to recognize that, put it down in your own voice, and leave it for the people who love you and want to know more about you. It's a busy life. If you've got children, they're busy, busy. They're not sort of interested. When do you get the chance to sit down and chat about what you learned from your life so that they can appreciate that and also learn from it? You don't get that time. Whereas if you take the time to set it all down, it can be turned into a book. We've got the skills to do that. And that is a very precious heirloom, really, a document for them after you're gone. So I find it such a pity that people do think, oh, it's such a big project and my life is so unimportant, when really every life is important and people learn from so many things in their life and they can convey that to the people they love.
Christine, you said that one of the big mistakes that people make is that they don't organise or plan well enough. And that leads to anxiety and overwhelm. And I can so understand that. But where do I start with the planning? Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. Can you help me with that?
As I said, we hold your hand. First barrier is that people procrastinate because it does seem such a big project, as you mentioned. Second point is that then they think, oh, well, I will start, and they don't really plan very well. They just jump in. And then they think, oh, this is big, this is anxiety inducing. Well, we've got very special programs set out with 8 sections, 8 different areas of your life to tackle. And so, first of all, we send you a questionnaire and you can sort out your thoughts in using that questionnaire to think about, oh, this happened and then that happened, that was connected to this other part of my life. And so that's a very good organized way to start.
Why? What do I need to do to start planning first? Can I start writing? Do I need to get onto a computer? What do I need to do?
Well, we can deal with if you're used to writing by hand and you want to write by hand, but most people, we can do that. It's a little bit more difficult, but that's our problem at the end. you can you can start and go ahead with our program, with our webinar series. But most people do use laptops now, and so that's the easiest way. And as I said, we just give you some introductory material that you can sort out and begin to write. The most important thing with this series is that we encourage you to write in your own voice, right? We don't worry too much about, I mean, we also publish books at Sydney School of Arts and Humanities, but for this project, My Life Story Project, we want you to write your story in your words. That is very important because when your children, after you're gone, or even while you're here, when your children read that, that will be a very, very emotional thing for them because you're used to reading newspapers, online, social media. Okay, when you read something written honestly, truly from the heart, as one writes about one's life, you are very moved by that. So it's not a strictly, mass market book. It's a book about you and for the people you love and who love you. And it's a very wonderful thing. So the way you start really is to contact us, and there'll be you'll see ads, and you'll be able to click through to contact us, and then we start, as I said, with a questionnaire where you start to question yourself and begin to write in your own voice. That's the important thing.
How do I separate my voice from, I guess, my beliefs or what I feel I should be writing about? Because, that's, when you start to write, or you kind of go, this is what I should have been doing, or this is the expectation, or I wish I'd have done this. But is that my own voice or is that a belief? How do you separate that?
Beliefs in your own voice. Yeah, you can. There is a difference. You might have had certain ideas about the way you wanted your life to be, and it hasn't turned out that way. It's very rare for any life to turn out the way you want when you're a very young person. So you have beliefs, and mostly you live by your beliefs. And it's almost as if your life has been mapped out, and you take the steps. And so the voice, your inner voice, is the voice that you believe in, and it's how you write. And that's the voice we want you to write in. We don't want you to write formally the way you would write a high school essay or a university essay or a polite letter to someone. You can say what you think about your life and what it's achieved. And as I said, the hardships that you might have faced and how you overcame them. That's what's really interesting for the people who'll be reading it.
What if I have a fear of judgment?
Judgment by your loved ones.
Once I've read the book, the fear of judgment that, what people are going to think after I've written my story.
Well, you can get a very close friend to read parts of it that you might be uncertain about. But I think these are fears that everyone has. And I don't think that they're realised mostly. Because if you're writing from your heart, people understand that. And, they're not condemning. I mean, you're not going to be giving it to a harsh literary critic. You're not going to be giving it to someone who writes reviews of books for the Sydney Morning Herald or the the Melbourne Age. You're going to write this about yourself, what your feelings are, what your beliefs are, and give it to someone who is on your side. People love you, and this is an expression of your love for them through a description of the highs and lows of your life. I don't think you really should worry. So these are the sorts of anxieties that people have. But mostly what I'm interested in is the pride that people feel at the end of the process, where it hasn't been insurmountable. It hasn't been this colossal mountain. It's been an enjoyable trip where they relive. And the more carefully they think about a particular person, then the scene around that person and the conversation they had or the activity they did together forms in their memory, and they've got something to write, and they relive that experience. And mostly it's a lot of joy. There are sad times and they need to be dealt with, but there's a great deal of self-nourishment, maybe I'd say, in the act of writing out these scenes from your memory.
If I get into the writing and my story just goes from one story to the next, to the next, to the next, do I just give that all to you then and you sort it out? How does
Yes,
it work?
yes, that's right, at the end. But the point is that it will be one story and then another story, and it'll be different periods of your life and interacting with different people. And often there'll be a little time for you to not just write the details of that particular incident, but also reflect on it, how it was important in your life, or the joy it gave you. So that's what you create. And it's no point in standing back and thinking, oh no, I couldn't do that. Because once you get into it, you enjoy it and you do it. It's what happens naturally. And it's like talking with a friend. But instead of just talking with a friend and then it's lost, this is something which lasts. And so what you do is you send it. I've set out the chapters, and there's also a prologue and an epilogue. And I explain what that is. And then you just send that to us and we create the book for you. So, you can have up to 5 copies, and that's part of the total cost. And, we manufacture it for you. Now, it doesn't go out for all the world to read. You don't have to worry about that. It'll be your personal book, and it'll be a paperback in print, and we send it to you, and then you get the joy of accomplishment.
Can I add photos? Can I add images?
Sure, you can do that. There'll be just an extra cost depending on, what they are. So it's very important to be selective in your photos. Sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so through the whole process, you give us prompts so that when we get stuck, there's a prompt and then there's another prompt, or we can go back to other prompts, or is that how it works and it's all online?
Yes, it's online, and so we send it to you in a regular way. And what happens is you watch, we'll say, chapter 1, and as you're watching, I give advice, and then I say, now you can pause and write for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Sometimes you can finish a story in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes longer. Doesn't matter. You can go longer then, or you can do that and then come back online, click on, and on we go. And then you can fix up those stories, extend them, or just change them a bit later, right? And then you'll have a final chapter. So the important thing is it's not just a oncer, like, in a class. In a class, the teacher tells you things. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, that's gone. These are webinars that you can watch once and be involved in. And then, later that night, you can think, oh, I might look at that again. And you start it up again and can hear it again and complete your story or whatever you like. So you've got access. Once you buy the program of those 8 sessions, you can look at them at any time.
How long would it take me to write a book?
Well, I've got people who are writing, say, novels, and that might take 2 years. And they're very serious, and I encourage them, and I love literature. But this is a different exercise. You can actually do this in 8 days or 8 weeks, depending on the depth you want to go into. Some people don't want a great deal of depth, so that they wouldn't take a week to write a chapter. They'll take a day, they'll go back over it in the afternoon, and they can complete a story of their life in 8 days. So that is what these are the people we're directing this to, not people who want to become writers, take up literature as their life's purpose. No, we want people who want to convey the important parts of their life in, say, 8 weeks, we'll say, or 8 days. And there'll be an introduction, then there'll be 6 parts to your life, and then an ending. So it's very simple, very easy to understand, and very encouraging of people to not feel daunted, not feel worried. Just step on the escalator and off you go. And I'm there all the time.
What does that mean, 6 parts to life?
Well, we divide it into different sections. So
Okay.
you're young,
So
you're middle-aged, you're old. They're not the sections, but you understand we have certain aspects or parts, times in life that we divide it into, which everyone will have travelled through. Not necessarily time, sometimes it's a subject. So all the secrets will be revealed once you sign up and get started. And I am sure you would love it.
what if I leave something out? What if I get if I've gone through 8 days or 8 weeks and I've gone, okay, the book's done. And then a week later I come back and go, oh my God, I've left something out. What happens then?
Okay. I mean, I see that you're putting up all the questions about, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't, whereas I know it does work. Okay. However, if you are in a situation where you've completed it and then bing, you've realized something a week later, you can contact us. We may not have sent it off for final printing by that stage. We would see whether there could be an addendum added. So, everything's possible, and that's probably how it would be handled.
And if I get stuck along the way, can I call you? Is there someone that
Yeah,
can help me?
yes, you can contact us. You can email me or call. Often an email's better because you can collect your thoughts. Um, but you'll find if you stick with it, there won't be many problems arise, because if you just follow the advice that is given in these 8 webinars, you can go back to the webinar if you've got any doubt, about something. But sure, if you've got a problem, yep, you can contact me.
I'm absolutely amazed that you can compress all of this into 8 webinars. How did you get into this? Like, how did you come about doing this?
Well, I've been teaching for a very long time, over 30 years. I've taught at university. I've taught in community classes. I've also written biographies. And so you come upon common elements in those processes. And so it wasn't an easy task for me to formulate this series of webinars. But a couple of years ago was when I got started on it, and it works well.
Tell me about some of the books that you've written. Like, what sort of experiences have you had?
Uh, I've got a little bit of a show and tell here. If we'd like to
Oh,
see some of the books,
go
yes. All
for it.
right. Okay. Okay. Well, my first book published was a biography of Christina Stead, who was a great Australian writer, and she lived 40 years outside of Australia, so a lot of people haven't heard of her, but she's a great writer. And A Life of Letters. She's died now. That was one book I wrote. Another was I wrote this biography, which you can see is very thick. I did that for my my doctorate at UTS in Sydney, and this is an Indian. Well, he was a young boy when he was adopted by some English people, and then he travelled the world as an adult, writing about philosophy, about not any particular religion, but the questions that religion asks. And he filled Sydney Town Hall in 1970 when he came to Australia. He came to Australia a few times, and he travelled the world and gave people a lot of understanding about the way the mind works. Okay, so this is a more recent book of mine, book of short stories. So I published under Chris Williams, Christine Williams, and C. Becky Williams. This is another one, A History of Environmentalism in Australia. It's now got a little bit of corner turn. Another one. I have a story in this book of short stories, To Mend a Broken Heart, and then I've got other stories published in academic journals. But then Fathers and Sons. There's a series of interviews I did with. Can you see that?
Yep.
I did
Yep.
with Australian men and the relationship with their fathers. And that was very interesting because so many men talked about how they regretted that they didn't have more talks with their fathers. There was a certain distance. I think that's changing now. Fathers and sons are closer than they were a few years ago, couple of decades ago. Yeah, so it's quite a range. And in
Look,
doing that work, I've worked out essentials in people's relationships and in their lives. Yeah.
does that mean we're able to write different types of books through the webinars that you create as well? Or is it just our stories that these webinars are for?
This is called My Life Story Project. So it's about one's life story. So for this particular webinar series, that's what it focuses on. Took a bit of work to sort it out, so I haven't done any for other subjects because this is the one that's most, we all have, we've got very great variation in our lives, but we all do have, common elements in our lives. And so that was why I was able to do this more easily. If I did something on writing a novel, it'd be completely different. This is specifically my life story project.
Christine, in a nutshell, can you give me if I came to you and said, I'd love to write a story, but I'm scared, I don't know where to start, what do I do? Can you give me some practical steps that I might take right now? Other than signing up for the webinar, what are some things that I could be doing right now to make myself feel comfortable about taking that step to actually sign up for the webinar?
Okay. Well, what I would suggest is you don't do too much thinking. I'll think on it, which is a form of procrastination, I found. What you should do is think, do I want to do this? Yes. This will be really good for me and for others. And so, yes, sign up as soon as possible. I can only really tell you the things in general at this stage. Once you sign up, we've got a secret. I've got a secret formula. And I say sometimes that one of the main elements in writing life story is it's around a 4-letter word, but it's not that 4-letter word. It's another 4-letter word. And I can tell you these secrets once you sign up. And I think you should commit rather than and about it any longer. You can and and years can go past, months, it's much better to think, do I want to, is there a risk? Well, not much, I pay the money, I'll get the information, and then I can act on it. Whereas here, outside, before I've done that, I have lots of anxieties and I have lots of procrastination. Once I step in, then I get advice and I can get started.
I can tell that there are going to be quite a few surprises and a few very valuable secrets once we get into the webinar.
That's right.
Christine, thank you very much. Is there anything else that we haven't covered today that you would like to add?
No, but I do want to emphasize the importance of the sense of pride, the sense of achievement once you've done it. That is, for me, so nourishing because I see it a little bit in the classes that I do, but I see it more in this because there are lots of books written, fiction, and the world's filled with books which don't necessarily have a great deal of relevance for you. Whereas in this project, this has great relevance. It's a review that you write yourself. You can leave out the parts if they're disturbing. You can put in the good parts. Doesn't matter. It's your message to your friends, a statement about the way you've lived your life and to your friends, but also to your family. And everyone values it. It's not just a novel that was good or this nonfiction book that was fine, you learned something from that. It is very valuable. And once you see it there as a print book in your hand, the way these books, but more important than those books I just showed you, once you have that, it is a very great feeling of satisfaction and strong sense of self. about the way you've lived your life.
And fulfillment too, I guess. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Christine, thank you very much for coming to this interview. Around this video somewhere will be a link or a button that people can press to find out more about you or possibly take the next step to sign up for the webinar. Christine, thank you again very much for being here. I've enjoyed this interview. I hope you have too.
Good. I hope I see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.